Hi everyone, welcome to the prologue episode of the very first season of Level Story. This is Danielle. I run the website, thisisdanielle.net. I know, such a clever title. And forgive me if I keep looking down during this episode. I have stuff I want to talk about on this sheet of paper and I can't memorize it. So I'm going to try to make this as live as possible, meaning that I don't want to do any cuts, I don't want to do any edits for this video, I want it to be straightforward, hopefully under 10 minutes, but we'll see how that works. And the only thing is it might cut off sometimes as I have a bit of a cold, so if I need to blow my nose or something, I'm not going to subject you to that, you know, that's just cruel, you know. So anyway, just disclaimer, or not disclaimer, check out my website, thisisdanielle.net, to learn more about me and see all of my content other than Level Story, which is what you're watching right now. All right, so this prologue is going to serve as a few things. It's going to be an introduction to me, you know, putting a face to who you're going to be listening to while watching Level Story, because this is the last time you're going to see my face for the entire first season of Level Story. And also, like, it lets you get to know me a little bit, see my face, put a face to the voice that you're hearing. So, hi. This is also a time for you to understand or see who I am and understand my credentials and why I'm able to talk about video games and story, and why I think that I can say the things that I'm saying in these episodes. You know, I don't want it to seem that like I'm just talking about random stuff, you know. When you watch Level Story, I want you to think that, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. And so hopefully this episode will give some kind of credentials as to why I'm doing this and what kind of education I have and just experience I have to back up my claims that I'm making in these videos. And so number two, I'm going to talk about Level Story itself in this episode because it is a brand new show. You know nothing about it, and I'm basically going to talk about what it is, what my plans are for it, and what you can expect from it. And finally, I'm going to discuss the very first season of Level Story briefly and the future of the show. So again, I apologize I keep looking down, but I'm looking at these notes, man. So this prologue is something that I intend to do for the future seasons of Level Story as well. Just to give you a brief, like, they won't always be like this one, because this one's really very explanatory. It's setting up what Level Story is as a whole. For future seasons, we won't need to do that, so it shouldn't be as long, shouldn't be as kind of complex as this one will be. Mainly what these prologues will do is they're going to serve as like a jumping point into the season. Basically me recapping like past seasons or like a past season or past seasons. Sorry about that. And just giving you a sense of what to expect for this coming season. So with that being said, let's get started. I'm going to turn my notes over. Anything else for me to say? No. One thing I should say actually is I have a little itinerary here. So because of that, there's going to be a lot I'm going to talk about. So if you're watching this via video and on YouTube, there'll be timestamps in the description. So if there's anything you want to skip over or anything, you can skip that. I'm not positive about this, but I'm most likely going to release this as an audio file as well. And so if you want to know the timestamps for those, just look in the podcast description. All right, let's get started. All right, so, no, okay. I get to talk about me according to my itinerary. Oh, great. All right. So, okay. I don't really like talking about myself, but okay. So, hi, this is Danielle. I'm Danielle, and I'm 27 years old. I am a graduate of Westchester University in Pennsylvania. My degree is in English literature. I am a freelancer at the moment. I'm currently just starting to go freelance, which is a very daunting task, but I'm going for it, you know? I'm really trying. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see where that heads. I'm very much like an introvert, so being a freelancer is like something I would like really enjoy, but also very challenging for me because freelance is like reaching out to people and all this stuff, and I just don't like doing that. But I've worked on many online projects before. It's too many to talk about here, honestly. So if you are interested in reading those, I have a series on my website. Again, this is Danielle.net, and it's called the About Me series. It should be linked in the description of this video. It might even be on the screen. I'm not positive about that, but it might be. And you can check that out and see the past projects I've worked on. So now let's talk about level story and just give a basic introduction to it. Already 6 minutes in. Hopefully I can make this a 10-minute video. We'll see. So basic introduction to level story. Level story is, it's a video series where I play through a game and then talk about the story within the game. And what basically level story is, it's getting to the nitty-gritty. We want to look closely at the stories that are being presented to us. And that's why I'm not doing just like a one-off video, like reviewing a game story. I'm doing several videos of my, mostly, for the most part, my entire gameplay and picking apart scene by scene what's going on. That's my goal for level story. That's what it's going to be. It's really a bare bones look at the story, and then because it's called level story, we're obviously going to give it a level or a rating, and we'll talk about that more in the first season. So I want to talk about the lens through which I'm discussing story, because I feel like I should be defining this beforehand so that when you come to these videos, you'll know what to expect from me. So this first one, it kind of actually doesn't apply much to this first season, because I don't talk about it much, and I'll get into that in a second. But there's a group of podcasts that I absolutely love, podcasters, Storywonk and Point North Media, and there's a series from Storywonk called, actually I forget what it's called, but I'll put it in the description of this video, where they talk about all the Pixar movies, and they're talking about the story in these movies, and they split it up between craft and magic, and that's something I really want to talk about within this series. I think that's a good way to split up talking about story. The only thing is with this first season, I didn't do it, and it's because of the game I'm playing, and I'll talk about that shortly. But the other thing I want to talk about is canon. So I'm a big believer in the canon argument, that what is presented to you in a book is what you get. And there's nothing in the outside world that is supposed to alter your feelings about said text or video game. So because of that, I'm really going by the canon argument. When I'm looking at the stories in these video games, I'm not looking at what the creators are saying outside of the video game, because if all these interviews that these creators do are put into a fire and burned tomorrow, or the internet implodes, then you only have a video game, right? You only have that video game to go by, and because of that, we want to go by that alone, what's being presented to us. If somebody plays that video game and then gets something out of it, and then somebody else also plays the video game and says, well, did you know that so-and-so is actually the bad guy? It's like, wait, what? What do you mean they're the bad guy? They're the good guy. And they're like, no, did you read the interview? Well, no. Oh, then you don't know. No, we're not doing that. I'm sorry. That's not going to happen here. I don't mind if it's discussed, like in the comments, that's great, but it's not going to happen on Level Story. And finally, what is my next point? Oh, right. Okay. This is definitely going to be a little over 10 minutes. I apologize. Hopefully it's 15 minutes. The next thing I want to talk about with Level Story is that the games I'm going to be talking about, for the most part, are going to be modern games, because just the way things have worked out, I mean, the video game medium is fairly new, and so because of that, a lot of games from the past just weren't focused on story, and there's just really not enough to talk about. And because of that, I am going to be talking about some newer games. And when I say newer, I'm going to say like post-2000, because there are some games I will be talking about that came out I think the one I'm talking about came out in 2002. I will be talking about, I mean, at some point I'll probably talk about the Final Fantasy games, which definitely came out before 2000. It just depends. But because of the circumstances and the way video games have been created over the years, it just doesn't make sense to talk about games that don't have proper stories in them. You know, I'm not going to be talking about Donkey Kong Country. As much as I love that game, the story is really not there. And because of that, it wouldn't be sufficient for our purposes. So for the most part, I'm not going to be talking about games that are older and don't have a story, but hang on to that. So my next point, now that we've defined how I'm going to be talking about story within Level Story, I want to talk about how the seasons will be broken up, because Level Story is going to be released in seasons. So this first season I'm playing one game, and I'll get to that in a bit, but really none of the seasons are broken up in any particular fashion. So it's not like I'm going to be playing a certain amount of hours or have a certain amount of parts or a certain amount of games to play. No, every season is broken up how I see fit, you know, beforehand. So, and I have thought about that quite a bit. I do take into consideration, you know, gameplay time and how many parts are going to be released, but every game's different, and just the way things are working out, every season's just going to be a bit different. Some might be longer, some might be shorter. That's just how it's going to work out, and I'm okay with that. So moving forward, the next point is Season 1 of Level Story. Let's talk about Season 1 and what you can expect from this season and what game I'm going to be playing. So remember how I talked about story and how a lot of older games don't have a story? Well, funnily enough, I decided to talk about one of those games for this first season. And I want to explain why I'm talking about said game and what that means for this first season. So the game I'm going to be discussing is Banjo Kazooie. So if you're familiar with that game, the story is next to nothing. It really doesn't exist. And there is a story. Don't get me wrong, there is a story, but not really one to go into depth about, right? But, all right, let me see. Okay. I'm terrible with this. Like, I need like a screen in front of me where I can like actually put, you know, like my points so that I'm not looking down constantly. But you know, I'm new at this. My setup isn't as good as I hoped it to be, so hang in there, fam. All right. So I want to talk about why I chose this game. So first, let me talk about the history I have with this game, and you know, maybe the screen gave it away that I'm talking about Banjo Kazooie. But my history with this game is that the Nintendo 64 was one of the first consoles I ever owned. I got it as a gift, I believe, for my 8th birthday. And I'm going to say that because it was in 1998, and that's when Banjo Kazooie came out. And I'm pretty sure it was Banjo Kazooie I had and Diddy Kong Racing. So I'm pretty sure that I got those games at the same time when I got the N64. And I mean, I didn't have many games. So Banjo Kazooie was a game that I played often because I only had that, Diddy Kong Racing. I had like an arcade series of games, and then we had the 007 game GoldenEye, which I wasn't allowed to play. It was my dad's, but he never played it, so what the heck. But yeah, I played Banjo Kazooie a lot. I did have Banjo Tooie, but I didn't play it much because I wanted to beat the first game, and I actually never did as a kid. I beat it much later in life. I think I was 25 when I beat it. Maybe 23 or 24, I forget. It was somewhere in that range. And so it's a beloved game. And so because of that, Level Story it's a new project for me. And essentially, I wanted to go into this talking about a game that I was very familiar with, and a game that would be a bit lighter on the palate. And in a way, I almost made it more difficult for myself because, yes, this game is definitely lighter because there literally is no story to talk about whatsoever. But at the same time, there actually is quite a bit I found to talk about, and you'll see that in the coming episodes. But essentially, yeah, for this first season, it's almost a beta season. It's my way of jumping into this and seeing if I can do it, honestly. Because when I came up with this idea, it sounded great in my head, but I really wondered if I could follow through with doing this. And so far, I'm really proud with what I've accomplished for this series, but it's just something to be aware of, that I know that my goals that I put forward don't meet this first game. I'm aware of that, and I'm okay with that. There is a bit to talk about, but just be aware that future seasons are probably not going to look like this first season. Again, it's a beta season, so it's me experimenting with things. It's me getting familiar with what I'm going to be talking about for hopefully a long while, if you enjoy this. So yeah, it's a simple beginning to Level Story. So a few more notes before I end this video, over 15 minutes long. There's I can't speak. This is live, and I haven't blown my nose once. I'm gonna jinx myself, I know it. With all that being said, now that we've talked about Level Story and who I am, blah, 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 let's talk about just where else you can find me and all that good jazz stuff. So I have another channel called DKGAMEPLAY. I release daily gameplay videos, so go ahead and check that out. Should be on the screen, but also in the show notes. Well, I hope to release more content on there in the future. I also do a bit of streaming on Twitch, and I do it on YouTube sometimes, but I'd prefer to do it, yeah, well, actually it depends where I prefer to do it, because, well, that's a story for another time, but I usually like to stream on Twitch, so you'll see my Twitch link in the description or on the screen. Again, not sure if it will be on the screen, but check that out. The future of this show. Well, okay, so in the beginning I thought I would talk about the games I'm going to play, but I actually don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to talk about any of the games I want to play. But if you follow my Twitter account, you'll probably notice, like, if you see me live streaming something, it probably is the game I'm going to play in a future episode. I think it would be a lot of fun to stream my games and chat with you guys. I'm currently in the process of getting a webcam for my computer, and that way I can stream and you can see me, and it'll be a fun time. I haven't been streaming recently because right now I just got a new TV and I'm going to be hanging it behind me, but currently it's not there yet because time and just finding somebody who will help me put it up there. That's what's going on. But anyway, here's a reminder real quick. Now that this video is 20 minutes long, and I apologize, you're probably like, all right, just get to the point, girl. I'm always going to be like, this video is going to be X amount of minutes, and then it never is. So you just got to expect that from now on. I did a really good job with this first season of Level Story in keeping my commentary within the time limit. I'm really proud of myself for that, because sometimes, like, I would go over and I'd have to actually go in and, like, edit stuff out. Like, but for the most part, I didn't have to do that. I was pretty good. So I give myself a pat on the back because I'm never good with time. But anyway, we're almost at 20 minutes, so let me just put out a reminder that this is the prologue episode of Level Story, Season 1, where we're talking about Banjo Kazooie. And just a quick note that this, even though this is the first episode, it's episode 0, basically, it's the prologue, but episode 1 of Level Story is posted the same day as this, so you can just jump right into the series right now. So I encourage you to do that, and as always, please comment, rate, subscribe, like the video, what have you. Check out my website where you can comment and we can discuss things more. And that's it from me. Thanks for watching this prologue. I really hope you enjoy this first season. Give me some feedback, let me know what your thoughts are, and I will talk to you all by the end of the season, hopefully, or the beginning of next season. All right, bye. Wait a second, I'm not saying bye yet. Why did I just say I'm going to be talking to you this whole season? I'm a crazy bug. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.